Welcome to another cracking edition of the BFNL Footy Show. My name's Yeendy, stepping into the hot seat, and I've got a superstar beside me who's joining us again for this week for the BFNL show. Tara Murray from the Melton and Murray and Sunbury and Massey Rangers Star Weekly. Thanks again for joining us. It's been a long time.
It has, and you said you're in the hot seat. I think I'm in the hot seat this week.
I don't know. The journalists generally have their finger on the pulse a bit more than me, mate. We'll see how we go. Now, we had a shortened round this week, the latest round of the BFNL back in round 9. You were down at the Sunbury North Ballarat City game. Tell us all about it.
It was. I finally got out to a Sunbury game. I thought I'd have a chance before I go away for a little bit just to have a look. And Sunbury got the win, but it wasn't a great game from Sunbury, and they're the first to admit that. North Ballarat stuck with them all day. Their pressure was really good, and North Ballarat, if they had kicked a little bit straighter, could have put a lot more pressure on Sunbury. It was sort of only really the last 15 minutes when the Lions got over the line. They made a couple of positional moves, which at the time I looked okay. They took Ben Sett off with about halfway through the last quarter. I'm like, what's going on here? Sett had kicked 4, and he looked really good early on, but he had been shut down. North Ballarat were double teaming him, and with someone who's not a tall key forward, you're going to be shut down pretty quickly that way. But the move ended up, he was only off for a minute, and then they sort of moved him up the ground, and they moved Cover up forward. Cover had played in the ruck, and he'd sort of been their sweeper across half back, done a really, really good job. Moved him up forward. He took 2 really strong marks, converted both of them, and then the third contest they did kick to him. He didn't mark it, but he brought it to ground, and the Lions got a goal there. So they got 3 goals there. That was game over. So basically that move of Cover late really turned the game. And
he's sort of been a crucial player to the team this year as well. I know he had a little bit of injury worries in the middle of the season, but he's really starting to get a little bit more confidence, and he's back in the team firing.
I think Cover's been one of, if not their most important player the last few years. You look at the grand final last year when he missed the grand final, that was a big loss for them. He was probably the one player they could ill afford to lose, and you look, Daniel Burton dominated the grand final after that. So for the Lions, a fit and firing Cover goes a big way to them winning.
Now, obviously, it's hard for North Ballarat City. They still haven't won a game in a couple of months. But how did they go on the ground itself? Like, are they performing as well as a team that's like not as low as what they are? I
thought they played really, really well. And they did. They restricted the Lions. They stopped them from getting that real run and carry. Obviously, their game plan, Ben Sett was dangerous early. They've shut him out of the game. So there is really good signs for them going forward.
Now, for Sunbury, that's a very crucial win for them. We know that they've got the bye this week. But what does that sort of mean for them heading forward in the season?
I think they needed that win, and that sets them up really, really well. You look, they'd just come off a month of 4 weeks playing up in Ballarat. They won 3 matches there, so they won 4 in a row. Now they've got their first bye this week. They've still got another bye the second last round of the season, and they don't play round 13 due to playing on Good Friday. So they've obviously got 3 weeks off in the back half of the season, and they don't travel to Ballarat again. So all their matches are either at Sunbury or they're over, I think they've got towards your Darleys and your Meltons and that sort of thing. So they've got a really, really good draw home at the moment. Not too many injuries as well, and with so many breaks, if they do have injuries, they can sort of get the players through that. So it really sets them up for a good tilt at the second half of the season. And
I guess their road as well, the run home, I don't think they've got too many teams above them that they've got to face. So they've probably got, I think they've got more teams in the bottom half, which is good for them going forward, considering they did have a relatively slow start to the season. As we look to another big game, and I know you've spoken to one of the stars behind the scenes in this one. It was Darley, 7-point winners over Ballarat. You did speak to Heath Scotland after the game. What did the great man say?
He was disappointed. Very, very disappointed. The game looked over at halftime. Darley were, I think, 40-odd points up, dominated the game. You thought, how far Darley? Another really, really big win against a side that is outside the top 6. It was pretty even third quarter. I think Ballarat reduced the margin to 35 points. And then the last quarter, Ballarat kept coming. The Swans, I think it was 7 last quarter goals.
Yep.
And Darley did get a couple, but Ballarat got within. They had time to actually get the win. They didn't quite get the win, and Scotland said he didn't think his side was ever in doubt of losing, but the way they performed the second half, he wasn't happy.
And Ballarat performed very well also. To be down by as much as they were, to not drop their heads and really keep plugging away was good endeavour by their part.
It was, especially when we've seen the Devils have some really, really big wins this season, so it could have quite easily been another one of them, but the Swans worked into the game and they kept it in there and made it a really, really interesting last quarter.
Love the form of O'Farrell as well. He stepped up with 5 goals. He's had a reasonably good season there for Ballarat, just sort of kicking a big chunk of their score for week in, week out. And also another side note to that game as well was that they didn't sing the song after the game. East Scotland and the players, I think at the players' request, from what I understand, closed the doors and closed the doors to the public to dissect the game itself.
Yeah, and I've only spoken with Heath, and yeah, he wasn't happy. He said basically they shut down at half time. They thought it was just going to happen and were outworked in that second half. So it's something Darley's got to work on that next part of the season. There's no concerns out there. They're still on top of the ladder, so definitely no concerns there. But it's just getting back to what they were doing early in the season and working on those things. They know they can do it. They know they can play some great football, and they do have a few handy inclusions still to come back in. So obviously disappointing loss, but the Devils will just want to rebound with that.
Ballarat could probably take a little bit of confidence out of that performance as well. As another big game that drew plenty of or raised plenty of eyebrows. It was East Point drawing with Bacchus Smash, 94 points apiece. What a good game of footy that was over at the Eastern Oval. But it's the Eastern Oval that, Tara, is the biggest talking point. It
is. Bacchus Marsh can't win up there. I think you were saying it's been a number of years since that. I think since 2002 or something like that.
Yeah, against East Point. They got the monkey off the back in the finals last year, but at East Point itself, they just cannot get the job done.
It is, and we obviously spoke about a match where it was the tables were turned. This was with Darwin and Ballarat. This was another one. Bacchus Marsh led by 40 points at quarter time. Obviously, you're going to look with what happened in the rest of the game. There was a wind, but to lead by 40 points at quarter time and give up that lead and not get a win, Bacchus Marsh would be really disappointed.
I was sort of highlighting last week that East Point, a number of people said, look, with East Point a chance to win, and I thought, I think they've sort of played Bacchus Marsh a week early because they had won a couple of games in the lead up to this one, starting to build that confidence. The younger players are starting to get more experience in the team, but they're probably just a week away. Maybe you're needing to face a team a little bit below them to have a bit of a confidence-boosting win a little bit more to give them that run of confidence. But now I think the sky's the limit. They've been able to draw with the reigning premiers, regardless of the venue. That seems to be a little bit of psychological advantage, but it shows that East Point are a big contender, and as we'll look in later on the week, it could play a big role in terms of where they make if they get a chance to make finals.
It is, and I think it sends a message. You can't take East Point easy. All those top sides need to realise any side outside the top six can easily beat them or match them on any day.
Exactly. Another game of interest. Yeah, the last game, of course, we did have Melton South, but that was a fixture that was played as the season opener going back in April. But it was Redan 30-point winners over Sabas. And bad kicking's bad footy earlier on. Both sides had 7 scoring shots in the first term, and Sabas, who have yet to win a game this year, were able to sort of start as front runners, but Redan sort of kicked back in the contest. They kicked 10 goals in the middle term and in the middle 2 terms and set up a comfortable win for the side.
And obviously, you look at that during that period, the two middle terms, Sabas kicked 1 goal 6. And you mentioned bad kick, and that's there. They were in front at quarter time. Obviously, kicked slightly better than Redan. But then any chance they had sort of went away when they didn't make the most of their opportunities. And
it shows that Sabas are a good side this year. They haven't got a win on the board, but they're building a little bit of confidence and showing that win might not be too far away. And Redan, they're probably not the powerhouse side that many maybe tipped at the end of the season. At this particular point of the season, if they had dropped that game, they would have become very dangerous to slipping out of the top 6, which we know on paper they are a far better side than where they are at the moment.
It is, and there's already a gap to those top 2-3 sides. So if Redan wants to be up with them, they need to be winning every match, and especially against sides which are towards the bottom of the table.
Certainly going to make things very, very interesting. Tara, thanks so much for joining us in the review version of this week's show. We look forward to catching up with you again later on in the week.
Thanks.